ago about this being a relatively smooth countdown, the fact that they didn't have hydrogen leaks like we saw during the first wet dress rehearsal. This goes to what the administrator was saying during the ignition event and the weeks preceding that really wants to instill a culture of repetition, of bringing up the launch cadence so that lessons learned can be maintained. And you have to imagine as Jared Isaacman and his team at NASA are watching this, that they've got to feel pretty good about where they are now and where they want to be, in a year of launching Artemis 3.
Yeah, I think so. And we've heard from Jared Isaacman and other NASA officials that, they made pretty declarative statements that the hydrogen leak is going to be resolved for the next mission. They're not going to have any issue with it at all. And that, they seem pretty convinced of themselves that they're going to be able to do that. And if they are able to launch Artemis 3 next year, let's say within 12 to 18 months or something like that, that's certainly bringing down the gap between launches, because now it's been, 3.5 years now since Artemis 1 launched until now we're on the pad with Artemis 2. That is a long gap. And compare that, SpaceX is launching multiple times per week. They don't even have to do launch rehearsals anymore because every countdown is fine-tunes their skills. So it's a totally different situation with Artemis, with the Space Launch System with a low flight rate. But even getting it down to once a year, I think, would be a big help.
Yeah, I mean, just having the Falcon 9 having flown now in excess of 620 times, obviously not all of those were crewed flights, but, they've launched, I believe now, 20 crewed missions between the commercial crew program, the private astronaut missions, and the missions that Jared Isaacman himself was commanding. So a lot of flight heritage on that vehicle, and that mindset of rapid turnaround seems like it's the thing that's going to be driving NASA, with the core stage getting ready to be barged as soon as next month from down at Michoud, and as soon as the mobile launcher can be turned around, they'll be in a good posture to start that stacking operation.
Yeah, I think it would certainly bode well for Artemis 3 launching next year if they're able to start stacking it by the end of this year. So we'll see how quickly that operation gets underway. Of course, they have to get off the pad with this one first, and if they have to delay to the next period at the end of April, beginning of May, that's a month now that would eat into the schedule for Artemis 3. So a lot of these schedules are predicated one mission after the other, and I think it was Christina Cook at crew arrival the other day, one of the crew members mentioned it's like a relay race. They have to hand the baton over to the next mission.
That's right.
And that is true for the astronauts, the crews themselves. They'll bring back their learnings and their insights from this mission, pass it on to the next crew. It's also true for the launch team, and even the hardware. The mobile launcher out there has to be rolled back and reconfigured and ready for the next mission.
And as we are continuing to watch this countdown, we've got about 30.5 minutes remaining on the L- clock. Still in the hold at T-10 minutes. This hold should clear once the L- clock hits L-14 minutes. That would be the way that it would set up for a launch at the opening of the window. We'll see. It seemed like the closeout crew was in the process of leaving the pad a little bit past the original time. That's not to say that they can't make up that time in between now and then, but like you mentioned, they've got 2 hours to play with, so we'll continue to watch that. But what I wanted to ask you next is, assuming that this rocket gets off the pad today, if it needs to be another day, so be it, but once this mission is in flight, what are the main things that you're watching for to see how well they perform, or if they're able to perform them at all?
So a couple things, I think, from a technical test flight perspective, certainly is going to be in the first 4 hours of the flight, when they get up and separate from the upper stage and do their proximity operations demonstration. That's going to be tonight if they launch tonight, and that's going to be probably one of the more challenging technical aspects of the entire flight, is taking manual control, exercising all the thrusters on board the spacecraft and seeing how well it handles compared to the simulator in Houston. And Victor Glover, the pilot, will be in charge of that operation, assisted by his other crewmates as well, and reporting back step by step verbally how the vehicle is responding to his inputs on his hand controller. So that'll be really interesting to see. Plus, it's going to be really interesting to see the upper stage either depending on their orientation, either backdropped by the blackness of space or backdropped by the Earth as they're coasting out toward that apogee in the high Earth orbit. And it's going to be really cool to see. I love seeing space hardware in its natural environment, so to speak, where it's supposed to be operating. You know, we often see rockets and satellites in the clean room or on the pad. I really love to see imagery of satellites fully deployed or rockets operating where they're supposed to be operating. So it's going to be really cool to see. And in terms of the other technical thing I'll mention briefly, which is a big one, but it's going to be kind of carried out over the course of hours and days, not condensed into a 1 or 2 hour demo, is how the life support system performs. It has not flown before. It's the first time crew has been on the Orion spacecraft. So how the CO2 or carbon dioxide scrubber works, how the toilet works, how all that works, the heating, thermal control, that's going to be really interesting to see. But again, unless something breaks right off the bat, and hopefully it doesn't, that's going to be some data that NASA gathers over the course of days. It's not going to be, right here, right after launch, where they're doing this proximity operations demo. And the other thing I'll mention is just from a gee whiz factor, obviously, is when they get beyond the far side of the moon on Monday, hopefully, if they launch today, seeing putting human eyes on some parts of the backside of the moon that have never been seen by human eyes before is going to be really, really cool. And I think from the perspective of the public, for those of members of the public who are maybe interested in space but not tuned in to every single launch, maybe not even tuned in today, I think when they see the imagery from the far side of the moon and hear the crew's insights and the crew's comments on what they're seeing, I think that'll be really, really inspiring.
Yeah, and just the fact that, as we've heard from the lunar scientists, that the human eyes can pick up certain color variations on the lunar surface that, we've had the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, at the moon for quite some time now, but human eyes can just make a distinction that cameras really can't, and so there's science in seeing the beauty of the moon, which sort of has a nice poetry to it.
Absolutely, and I think seeing imagery of the moon from beyond the far side with a camera not so different from the ones you and I might have at home will be really cool as well. Just seeing what, if we were there, what we would capture with our own eyes and with our own cameras. It's gonna be really neat.
We should only be so fortunate that maybe within our lifetimes we can imagine you or I traveling to the moon. If they need a pair of journalists, NASA, call us. We're available. This obviously sets the table for Artemis 3 and beyond, the reimagined Artemis 3 in low Earth orbit, and the crewed landings on the moon in 2028. There's a lot of runway to get between where we are now and getting either Starship or Blue Moon safely out to the moon. One of the big items that they both have to prove out, of course, is propellant transfer, which we had hoped and expected to see that from SpaceX last year. 2025 came and went with version 2 of Starship. Expecting to see flight 12, the first flight of a version 3, potentially sometime, now we can say this month, now that it is April. How are you feeling about getting to the road to prop transfer, given what we know about where we are right now?
I think that's still a few flights away, at least for Starship. I think if I had to bet, I would say late in the year or next year, when they really get that up and running, they're going to need 2 pads active. We think that's been the assumption going in, but if they can turn around 1 pad, wouldn't rule that out. It's SpaceX, after all. They're capable of things that we don't think they're capable of sometimes. So, but they presumably need the pad here active, or the second, or reactivate the first pad at Starbase to have the ability to do a prop transfer in orbit, and then they need repeatable launches even after they do a one-to-one transfer. They need to be able to launch many Starships in quick succession. So, and there's the question that I always bring up, like, does it behoove us, or behoove NASA to assume that the prop transfer, even if they get 2 Starships in orbit, is it going to go perfectly the first time? I mean, are there going to be leaks? We've seen leaks with hydrogen here on the ground. Are there going to be leaks of methane or oxygen in orbit? We'll see. And so I think there are a lot of question marks there. And again, I think it was a really, really smart move, I think, by NASA to reorient Artemis 3 to low Earth orbit, because you don't need prop transfer, and you can get some other milestones achieved, demonstrating the life support system on Starship and Blue Moon, for example, in low Earth orbit. You don't need to go to the moon for that. So, yeah, I think SpaceX is going to reel off a few version 3 launches if they go very, very well. Perhaps demonstrate a catch of Starship before the prop transfer is what I'm thinking is what's going to happen. And maybe by the end of the year, we'll be ready to do the prop transfer, and that's going to be very, very interesting. And 2 big starships in low Earth orbit for skywatchers, depending on your point of view. It's either going to be nerve-wracking if you're a dark sky person, or really cool to see 2 giant spaceships in low Earth orbit, easily visible with the naked eye. Maybe have to see the statistics or the specification, but maybe even outshining ISS or close to it. It's going to be really cool.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yes.
Stephen Clark, space reporter with Ars Technica, will be joined again a little bit later in the program by Stephen when we're on, hopefully, the other side of liftoff as we continue to track the countdown. We are currently at L-minus 22 minutes, 51 seconds and counting. Continue to watch as we tick ever closer to the opening of this 2-hour window for the Artemis 2 mission. You're watching Spaceflight Now's special live coverage of this flight to the moon preparation.
And CDR entity.
Go ahead.
All right, Reed, we can go ahead and configure for terminal count at this time. Need team over to your channel here in just a minute.
Integrity copies.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead. Okay, copy all. And let's see, GLS, can you help us with that, please? The last gen 001.
Time currently L minus 17 minutes, 3 seconds and counting. Time currently L minus 17 minutes. As we're tracking the progress of the Artemis 2 mission towards the opening of the window, this was the time where we would have expected the launch director to pull the team, ensuring that they are go for launch. Standing by for further from Firing Room 1 and from NASA, as we are also approaching about just under 6.5 minutes from when the planned 30-minute hold at T-minus 10 minutes was expected to lift.
Are included for this 2-hour launch window, and that's important. They're in very small print.
We should be hearing some more call-outs from the test director, Loop, per NASA's Daryl Nail, coming up here in the next few minutes. The battery issue related to the launch abort system, that has been cleared at this point in time. We're standing by for further.
And OTC, NTD on 212 for comm check?
Good com. How me?
I hear the same. STC? GTC?
GTC is on 212.
All right, copy that.
So we are standing by awaiting two critical polls, one from the NASA test director, the other from Artemis launch director Charlie Blackwell Thompson.
CCL, OTC, Orion, or S1.
CCL.
Yes, sir. Reconfigure ARS primary loop ISO valves.
Copy, that's in work.
And CDR, OTC, Orion, or S1.
Go.
ARS loop ISO valves are being closed at this time.
Integrity copies.
NGDLP.
Go.
Yes, I had a discussion with sea ice and with MER manager regarding the observation the sea ice had a few minutes ago. They were able to confirm with BCI photos that the condition that they observed has been there since 2025. MER manager has had a chance to review the findings, and they do not have any constraints from either a sea ice or MER manager perspective.
Okay. Copy all. And launch director, NTD, you copy?
Yes, sir. I copy that. That's good news.
OTC, CCL 212.
OTC.
ARS primary loop isolation valve configuration is complete.
Copy.
And CGLS, NTD. To T-minus 10 minutes, but we've canceled the resume time there, and then we'll pick it up after we get through all of our work and anything else that we need to do to get through the remainder of count. So we'll continue working that to get to our T0 today. So when we get to about 50 seconds from now, we'll extend that hold.
CVSE OTC.
CVSE.
400, 290, looking to verify that we are configured for ascent.
Yep, give me about 2 more minutes. I'm going to start CMA2 streaming.
Copy.
NTD, COSE, hold requested.
Copy that.
I have an LCC violation of O-CT-004, S-band transponder anomaly. This was a transient LCC violation, so transponder 1 had a demodulated SNR estimate that went down to 2 dBm when it should have been between 10 and 13. It is now back up to 12, but we did lose that for just a moment. It does not appear that we lost our bit sync or carrier lock, which would be indicative that we lost our lock with the vehicle. So at this point, recommendation would still be go. However, we do have a pre-planned contingency procedure if we want to look at that.
We'll bring up those nets here in just a moment. Just want to address the reason that the L- clock has stopped is because teams, as you heard, have determined there is still more work ahead. And so they are working to finish up what they need before they are able to proceed into the terminal count. So the clock will stand in this hold at T-minus 10 minutes before the T-minus clock and the L- clock were set to sync. Assuming the work can be cleared, then the count would presumably continue on from this start of the terminal count at T-minus 10 minutes. But again, for those just joining us, expecting that we are 10 minutes away from the liftoff of Artemis 2, teams still have work left to do before they are ready to proceed. We are standing by for the polls from the NASA test director, as well as the Artemis launch director, Charlie Blackwell Thompson, that need to happen. The teams need to reach a consensus to proceed with the liftoff here today. Again, there is a 2-hour window, so we are by no means at the end of the opportunities for today. Lots of latitude left to work, and so we will bring you the very latest. We'll go ahead and let you listen back into the loops here.
And COSE, while we're doing that, these are 1/10
sample?
Yes, sir, that's correct. It is 1/10 hertz.
Yeah, so from our perspective, the allowance is effectively up to 30 seconds, up to 3 samples based on the 1/10 hertz. This is not an LCC violation, I believe.
Yes, sir, I would agree with that at this point. Copy that.
We're checking with KUS on 232. I don't think they have 212 access. We're trying to verify, but it sounds like they have a loss of lock as well. About 2 seconds.
Okay. And I guess for both KUS and COSE, do we have lock now?
That's affirmed. We do have lock for COSE.
Yeah, so from the integration console perspective, we did have a temporary loss there within the allowable, and per the requirement, let's go.
And this is Houston Flight. We have lock and we have good telemetry here in GSE.
And KUS is reported to they have good lock now. So with all of that, OSC, then are we in a go configuration per your LCC?
Yes, sir. Recommendation would be go.
Right. LP, you concur with that?
Yes, sir. LP concurs go.
And Launch Director?
Yes, sir. Launch Director concurs go.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and just verify everybody has everything else complete, Launch Director, and if we do, we'll be ready to pick up the poll at that time, unless there's something else that you're aware of.
No, sir. Let's verify all our work is complete, and I would like one last check of our constraints list.
All right, let's see. OTC, are you still waiting for ComConfig, or are you complete?
That is affirmed, sir.
Okay, is that your only open item?
Yeah, OTC, this is CVSC. That 400 step 290 is complete.
Copy.
Okay, so OTC, you're complete with all of your work?
That's affirmed.
All right, copy that. STC?
STC is complete.
And GTC?
GTC is complete.
Okay, excellent. All right, and LPE, just want to verify we have no open constraints at this time.
No open constraints. We have a clear board, sir.
Okay, tracking the same here. And Launch Director, with that, we are clear and ready to pick up the launch readiness poll with your go.
All right, sir. I am go for the poll.
All right. And for all personnel, this is the NTD conducting the Artemis II launch readiness check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC.
OTC is go.
STC.
STC is go.
GTC.
C's go.
MCO.
CO's go.
Safety Console.
The Safety Console is go.
LPE.
LP's go.
RTD.
RTD's go.
Houston Flight.
Houston Flight is go.
ROC.
ROC is go.
And CDR.
Cruise go.
Copy that. Thank you, Reed. And Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
All right, NTD, I copy all. At this time, I'll perform my poll. Attention on the net. This is the Launch Director performing the final poll for launch, verifying no constraints, and go for launch. EGS, Program Chief Engineer.
Artemis Chief Engineers are go.
Copy, thank you. EGS, Chief Safety Officer.
The Artemis CSOs are go.
Copy, thank you. Range Weather.
Launch weather is go.
Thank you, LWO. And Artemis MMT Chair.
MMT's go.
Thank you, John. And Integrity Launch Director.
Good to hear your voice, Charlie. PLT.
Thank you, Charlie. This is Victor. We are going for our families.
MS1.
This is Christina. We are going for our teammates.
MS2. This is Jeremy. We are going for all humanity. All right, Charlie, your Artemis II crew is go for launch. Full send.
I copy that. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II. Let's go. And NTD Launch Director.
Go ahead, Launch Director.
Yes, sir. You have a go to proceed with countdown.
Copy that. I'll put it in work. CDR, NTD.
Go.
Trigger your visors and initiate short purge per your EPROC 10.1.1, steps 8 and 9.
10.1.1, 8 and 9 going to work.
Copy. CVSE, NTD. Start and verify recordings of our Orion cameras.
Copy and work.
Thank you. RSR, NTD.
RSR.
All right, perform the booster ignition SNA arm rotation. Enable at this time, please.
RSR in work. Booster ignition SNA arm rotation enable complete.
Copy that, thank you.
Integrity crew, close and lock visors.
And as we've been hearing the NASA test director poll complete, the launch director poll complete as well. Good words from the crew. Teams have been given the blessing to proceed with the count. We are awaiting terminal count to pick up once the new T0 has been set. Again, the terminal count has not picked up just yet. We're watching for movement of the clock.
And for all personnel, once we get that short purge verification, we'll verify that we are clear to go, and then we'll proceed with the terminal count.
As you just heard, a little bit more left to do before terminal count can proceed, but we are getting very close, everyone, to the liftoff of Artemis 2 as planned. For those who may just be joining us, if you haven't been following along with these final big updates.
ECL time estimate?
About a minute.
Copy.
Teams had a little bit of extra work they needed to get through, and so the terminal count has not picked up. So just setting the scene for everybody, there will not be a liftoff in 1 minute. We are awaiting the updated T0 time for the liftoff of the Space Launch System rocket. When that time is given, when we get right down to the end of the count, you'll see the 4 RS-25 engines ignite about 6.36 seconds before the 2 solid rocket boosters come to life, and then we'll see Artemis 2 take off. All continues to go well with these final 10 minutes once the terminal count picks up. Got a lot of focus of the Orion spacecraft.
NTD CCL 212, short purge initiation is verified.
All right, copy that, and we're verifying our constraints. All right, and we're clear from cutouts. And with that, we're going to resume the clock momentarily. And CGLS, you can resume the clock on your mark.
GLS copies. 3, 2, 1, mark. GLS mainline has been initiated.
T-minus 10 minutes and counting.
And we are now looking at 6:35 p.m. Eastern, 22:35 for the new T0 liftoff time for the Artemis 2 mission. Terminal clock underway. You'll hear a lot of call-outs on the process through the count. Crew access arm away from the Orion, which is atop the spacecraft spacecraft. You can see that there with the American flag just above that red umbilical. That ability to use that emergency way of getting away from the rocket, if necessary, will become active for the crew beginning at T-minus 5 minutes and 20 seconds. Once the LAS is active, the NASA test director will let Commander Reed Wiseman know that that is a viable option.
GLS is go for crew access arm retract.
Retract go given. Arm is now swinging away. We're now less than 8 minutes away to the planned liftoff of the Space Launch System rocket on its first crewed flight. You can see this view from inside the White Room as the arm retracts away from the crew and the spacecraft named Integrity. About 7.5 minutes remaining before the planned liftoff. Again, in about a little less than a minute and a half from now, the tank pressurization on the core stage will begin. Just under 7 minutes and counting now. Less than 1 minute to course tank pressurization, and the launch ascent pyros will be armed, and the Orion spacecraft transitions to internal power. After the 6-minute mark in flight, some of the next major milestones beyond the launch abort system being activated at T-minus 5 minutes and 20 seconds. The go for the flight termination system arming will happen at T-minus 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Core stage auxiliary power unit.
GLS is go for core stage tank pressurization.
The replenish valve is now closed for the core stage liquid hydrogen tank. Under 5 minutes now, or under 6 minutes. Launch abort system capability will be active for the crew in about 10 seconds.
GLS verifies last capability available.
And CDR, do you copy?
CDR copies, last available.
That escape capability now available to the crew if necessary, confirmed by Commander Reed Wiseman as we are now 5 minutes and counting.
GLS is go for FTS arm. GLS is go for LH2 high flow bleed check.
Four minutes and
GLS
counting.
is go for core stage APU start.
This is the auxiliary power unit on the core stage. Just about 3.5 minutes remaining on the clock now. The interim cryogenic propulsion stage locks topping should terminate here. Coming up to the final 3 minutes of the count. When we hit about 2 minutes and 2 seconds, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage will switch to its internal battery power. That'll be followed seconds later by
GLS is go for purge sequence 4.
The core stage switching to internal power as well. First, the solids at 2 minutes, the core stage at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds, switching to internal power. We're less than 3 minutes to the planned liftoff of Artemis 2. Continuing on with the terminal count to a liftoff scheduled for 6:35 and 12 seconds Eastern Time. Should see a gimbal there of those engines. You see that in motion. Good testing of those RS-25 engines, now approaching the final 2 minutes in flight. As a reminder, those RS-25s will ignite as planned at T-minus 6
GLS
seconds.
Go for upper stage to internal power.
6.36 seconds before liftoff is when those engines will come alive. We're less than 2 minutes. In this, the final minute and a half, the core stage will switch to internal power as well. The upper stage will...
GLS is go for core stage to internal power.
Good call out there. Should hear a call for the upper stage entering terminal countdown mode. Coming up on the final minute of the count. One minute in counting. Cheers across the press line here at the Kennedy Space Center.
GLS is go for ALS.
30 seconds and counting.
25.
The hydrogen burn-off igniters will kick on at T-minus
20.
12 seconds.
15.
Hydrogen burner ignition.
10.
GLS is go for core stage.
8, 7, 6 should have RS-25 start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the Artemis 2 mission, the first crewed flight of the Orion spacecraft, the first humans to plan a trip beyond low Earth orbit, has taken off from Florida.
Roger, roll pitch.
Now about 1 minute in flight, the SLS rocket traveling faster than the speed of sound. Engine's about to throttle back as it approaches max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. RS-20. Good confirmation, past max Q, the RS-25's throttling back up to 109% thrust capacity. Now about a little more than a minute and a half into flight. Coming up next will be the separation of the two 5-segment solid rocket boosters a little more than 2 minutes into the mission. That roll maneuver we saw earlier, intentional to put the crew in the right orientation as the rocket continues to climb uphill. And a good separation of those solids. Five solid rocket boosters chock full of shuttle heritage, having carried this crew on the first part of their journey.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
Copy all, Stan.
75% of the initial thrust was those engines.
SM priming complete.
SM priming complete.
Now approaching T+3 minutes into the flight. Coming up next will be the jettison of the launch abort system. At that point in the mission, it will no longer be needed. Now more than 3 minutes into this flight of the Artemis II crew on board their Space Launch System rocket. There go the covers for the launch abort system. Now it has been jettisoned. Orion Integrity now no longer having the launch abort
Houston
system.
Integrity, good last jettison, great view.
Copy jettison, Team Eco 8+02.
And with that protection covering now gone.
Same on board, Stan.
And Houston has you loud and clear on Tidris at the Kármán line.
The windows are open, as you just heard.
Outstanding, Stan, we have you the same.
Reaching the Kármán line, entering space. First space flight for Jeremy Hansen, the second for Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Cook. Now a little more than 4 minutes into flight. The next big milestone is coming up in about 4 minutes' time. We're watching for the core stage main engine cutoff. This will be MECO, where the 4 RS-25 engines will power down. That'll be followed a little more than 10 seconds later by the separation of the core stage and the ICPS, the rocket's upper stage, which will be powered by an RL-10 engine from L3 Harris. Continuing to get great tracking views this April 1st, the flight of Artemis II.
Integrity, GPS processing.
Outstanding, Stan. We see the same, and we have a beautiful moonrise. We're headed right at it.
Good words by the commander heading towards that quote, beautiful moonrise. Their zero-G indicator happens to be named Rise as well. Created by a second grader in California, taken from inspiration by the iconic
Integrity, 3 engine press.
Earthrise image.
3 engine press.
The call we were just hearing regarding the engines still have 4 good RS-25s. Only 3 would be needed to carry it to the correct point for MECO at this point, so they are in a very good position at this stage in the flight. Now approaching T+6 minutes.
Integrity, looking good at 6 minutes.
Same on board, Stan.
Looking at a animation rendering, a visualization you can see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. This is not from a tracking camera, but a visualization of what is happening in real time. This rendering coming from NASA. About 6.5.
Integrity, expect nominal shutdown.
So that's the fuel tanks.
Integrity copies nominal. Shut
That's
down.
the other fuel tanks besides the ones they just
A
dropped.
good view of the contrail there from firing room 1. I believe that's the silhouette of Artemis launch director Charlie Blackwell Thompson. Has to be ecstatic so far of how this mission has performed.
The view you just saw was from NASA. It's their view of what you could see what the rocket looks like right now in orbit.
7 minutes into the mission now.
It's been 7 minutes since the rocket has launched into orbit.
Now less than
from
1
the
minute
Kennedy
away
Space Center.
to MECO, main engine cutoff.
It's about to cut off its main engine.
Engines will begin to throttle down as they approach the point of main engine cutoff. Now nearly 7.5 minutes post-flight beginning.
Integrity, AOA open.
AOA open.
What you're looking at is the contrail from the Artemis 2 rocket. Is the contrail from while it's in orbit over the Earth right now. That's the contrail from it.
NASA reporting nominal trajectory still so far, a call out relating to an abort zone if needed in the Pacific Ocean.
8 minutes into the mission.
Coming up to MECO here momentarily. And we had a good MECO, and as you can see, stage separation.
That's MECO right there.
Integrity, nominal MECO, core stage separated.
That's the second separation from the rocket right now. It is just released to MECO.
Stan.
It is just released to MECO, the main thing, on the rocket.
This camera view from one of NASA's imaging planes, WB-57, I believe.
WB-57.
Now back to the visualization showing the interim cryogenic propulsion stage.
It has just done the
A little more than 9 minutes into the flight so far. The RL-10 engine nozzle should have extended by this point.
9 minutes.
The crew released in.
Integrity Houston, looking ahead to PRM numbers so far per the pad.
Copy that, Stan. Numbers for the pad.
That call confirming that teams are tracking towards the perigee raise maneuver about 49 minutes post liftoff. Before then, though, the Orion solar arrays should deploy on the European service module. That's expected at T plus 20 minutes.
Integrity, good. NEDS deploy.
Copy that, Stan. Good, Neds.
And Integrity Houston for PWD setup. Just a reminder, halfway open on the secondary.
We copy that, Stan. Halfway open.
And just confirming there that the RL-10 nozzle was extended as expected. The communication now from the Johnson Space Center to Commander Reed Wiseman coming from the Capcom, who is NASA astronaut Stan Love. Crew will now be able to raise their visors as well, per NASA. As we're awaiting the next big milestone, which is set to be the
Houston C3 aux power back in auto.
Copy C3 aux, and we're 2 minutes to maneuver.
Let's go ahead and listen in to NASA commentator here for a moment from the Johnson Space Center, I believe.
Seconds of mission elapsed time. We're going to continue to follow the crew of the Artemis 2 mission. They are beginning their journey around the moon to verify the systems that will take us to its surface. An incredible ascent. Artemis 2 is underway. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen begin their journey to the moon. Still milestones to come up as we await solar array deploy and the critical burns that will get Integrity into high Earth orbit around the Earth before engines are fired to get us around the moon. We'll keep tabs on Integrity and its crew from here in Mission Control Houston. But for now, we're going to send it back to you, Megan and Nicole at the Kennedy Space Center. Very jealous to...
As teams are awaiting the deployment of the Orion solar arrays from the European Service Module, which is expected in about 4 minutes' time from now, taking a look at the split screen between the visualization of what's happening with the interim cryogenic propulsion stage and the Orion spacecraft on the left, and the now empty mobile launcher there on the right-hand side of your screen. NASA leadership mentioned that there were a number of improvements made to the mobile launcher to make it more resilient against the impacts of 8.8